Hello. Hello. Are we live? Is this live? Am I live? I think I'm live. We'll see. We'll see. Greetings, everyone. My audio seems to be working, and I can see the preview image. So somebody in the chat says that they see me. Seems like we're live. Great, great, great. You never know how one of these things is going to go. So, welcome, everybody. Welcome to a live stream, a Sentinels of the Multiverse Definitive Edition live stream. I'm Christopher Badell. I am the designer of Sentinels: The Multiverse and the writer of all things Sentinel comics, and one of the owners of Greater Than Games. And I'm here to specifically talk about Sentinels: The Multiverse Definitive Edition. But this is an AMA, which stands for Ask Me Anything. So I will answer any questions in the chat. Just in case you are new to an AMA type of thing, or at least new to one of the ones we've done, the chat tends to get real busy, real hectic. It's exciting to see so many people in there. Hello, hello. I see lots of greetings and hellos, and hello, hello, hello. When you want to ask a question of me, just tag at Greater Than Games, because then it'll pop up on my screen. Maggie, our fantastic Maggie, is also in the chat, and she is going to be answering questions or at least commenting on things. She'll be there in the chat. If you see the at Greater Than Games tag in the chat, typing and saying things, that is Maggie. If you hear my voice saying things, that is me. That's not Maggie. So that's how you know the difference. All right. So with that, I see I've already got a question in the chat from Greg, who asks favorite Brandon Sanderson character, and the answer is Kaladin. Anyway, from that, I want to start off by showing off this box. It's Sentinels of Multiverse Definitive Edition. Here it is. It's here. It's ready. It's good to go. You can have it. Just take it. Right. I wanted to talk about a lot of things because there's been a bunch of questions about a bunch of different things that showing off this box will hopefully answer a good deal of those questions. Let's see in the chat, AP Klosky asks, would we be able to get a look at a single full hero deck, perhaps one that has been a significant amount of change from Enhanced Edition? Not right now, not during this stream, but a thing that I intend to do as one of the updates, I mentioned one of the updates is a hero update, is to go through and show you a lot of one or two or maybe even three heroes to give you an idea of like, this is how this hero works now. So something to look forward to in there. Owl Beck asks, do you have the foil versions of the hero cards? I do not. I do not have any foil versions with me. I only have the core game with me. And even yet, this is not exactly right. And I'll show you why. I'm going to go through all the ins and outs of all that. We're going to go through all of this stuff. So I'm both here to answer questions, but also to show off product. But as long as the questions keep coming, I'll keep answering questions. Powerhound says, can you explain what cards are in the foil pack? The description says heroes, villains, and events, but pledges say only villains and heroes. Interesting, interesting. The foil pack of cards, and part of the problem is on Kickstarter, we're unable to edit things that have already been affected. So like if somebody is backed at a pledge level, that we can't alter that in any way. But the pack of foil cards that are coming to everybody who backs this Kickstarter and gets the game, the pack of foil cards has each of the hero character cards, both the regular character cards and the first appearance variants. It has each of the villain character cards, and it has each of the event and critical event cards. So that is 24 hero character card size cards and 18 villain character card sized cards, I believe. So yeah, that is what we're looking at for the foil cards. Nolan. Oh, hold on. I'm missing. Oh, my goodness. I need to scroll up a bit here. Boop. Brian, why use slightly different Sentinel Comics logos for the Definitive Edition and the RPG? I mean, we've always used different logos for the RPG and for different eras and different products of Sentinel Comics. And within the game of Definitive Edition, there are lots of different comic covers, and they have some different Sentinel Comics logos on them. So we picked one that we felt was iconic and clear and made sense for this product, but there's a bunch. So there you go. I didn't realize this, but this is a great putting the. I stand at my desk. I have a standing desk, and putting the box here on my desk, and then leaning on it. I can do like a. All right, let's talk about definitive edition. So this is great. This is very comfortable for me. Next question: what is the expected retail cost of the foil cards? The after the campaign is over and everyone has had all their stuff delivered, we will be making the foil card set available for $20. Nolan Trap, do you have the sleeves? Yes and no. I have some sleeves. I have these sleeves that we're making, but only in like finish and strength and all that. The size is wrong. But I'll talk about one of the things I want to talk about as part of all the product showing off that I'm doing today is talking to the sleeves. So the answer to your question is yes with an asterisk, but we'll get there when we get there. Cortez asks, is it possible that the starter game, Baron Blade versus the Freedom 5 in Megalopolis for is it possible that the starter game for demo games? Is it possible that the starter game for demo games? Yes, it is possible that the starter game for demo games. Rennie Stern asks, what heroes, environments, villains will be included in the Definitive Edition? Well, eventually all of them, but in the core game of the Definitive Edition, I'll talk through that in a second when I get into this box. And I'm not going to, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second when we get into the box. Rakuno asks, oh gosh, the chat, it leaps. Does Citizen Dawn still flip even if you're only snapping the other citizens next to sleep? Yes. Yes. Yeah, she gets mad about that too. She gets mad about that. Mark Fairbrother asks, would you please share what changed with Unity? A good friend of mine really likes her. Thanks. Unity has stayed very well. Everybody's recognizably similar. So, some characters like Bunker and Tempest have changed to the point of being like not a different character, but like, oh man, it's a very different take on that character. But Unity's deck has stayed more the same than many others, but she does have some tweaks, some quality of life increases, just a little bit ease and speed of getting her bots out. So I would say that Unity plays a lot like she used to play, but if anything, slightly faster and more reliably. But that's also a sentence that applies to like all the heroes. The level of like bringing up the comfort and reliability level for everybody is pretty good across the board. Owlbeck asks, will the foil versions have the same art or the original ones? The same art, but with the foil overlay. So, Chris Willis asks, oh no, the chat, it jumps so much. Here we go. Can I have a vegetarian cheeseburger, please? Chris Willis, you can have a vegetarian cheeseburger. You can. Victor Hugo Costa Santos asks, will the core heroes have as many variants as the non-deaf version? Eventually, yes. In the core game, there is one variant for each hero, the first appearance variant. Colin Amos asks, does the included token box have compartments for different tokens, or is it just one big space for all the tokens? It's one big empty space. The game does come with a series of Ziploc bags like we include in every game we make. And so when we get into the box, I'll show you how I have the box organized right now. Yeah, I am also, like, personally for my copy, I'm probably gonna like take little pieces of cardboard and tape it to the side and make a little bespoke thing. But like, this box is a nice little box that you can put all the tokens in, and it really, like, the functionality of it is great. Daryl and I got to play a game right when he brought me this, when the factory sent it, and we had the box on the table, and just the fact that it was there, like, usually I would keep tokens in the core box previously, and so I'd be like, okay, I gotta reach over to the core box. Just having this little box in the middle of the table is it's so nice. It really makes a difference. Okay, more questions. Cortez, sorry, would the demo game be on Tabletop Simulator? The demo game only. We're not planning on releasing the Tabletop Simulator to the wider audience at this point. It's like the game. The game is like, this exists, and you can back it on Kickstarter. And if the stuff that we've talked about seems convincing to you, and you want to back it on Kickstarter, great, please do. And if you don't, then please don't. And if you're like, maybe, well, consider we have our money back guarantee. So if you're like, well, maybe, might as well back it, play it a couple of times, a dozen times, and then send it back to us and get your refund if you don't like it. So, apologies if this was already asked. Vulcan Gaming asks, is there any plan on element tokens like the original? No, they didn't get used very much, and we streamlined things to the point that they're used even less now than before. So no, we're not planning on making special tokens for that. Alex Paul asks, are event cards directly related to hero cards only, and are critical cards directly related to villain cards only? No, neither nor. Event cards and critical event cards are related to specific villains, at least in the core game. I have plans for future events to do weirder things, but in the core game, it's each event is goes with one villain, and it says right on the event card how that works. And each regular event is, all right, take the villain character card and the villain deck and play them. It tells you the story, it gives you a little mechanical effect, and good to go. Critical events take that deck from that villain, but play it with a completely new and unique villain character card that is on the back of that critical event. Like for the instance of Baron Blade, it's Mad Bomber Blade, and for the instance of Omnitron, it's Cosmic Omnitron, and for the other ones, well, I'm not going to tell you. You'll just have to find out. There's really exciting, cool story things in the events that we're going to do, and that we are doing. There are things we've already done that are very cool, and we have such plans. This is a week ago. The thing I said was like, and if the Kickstarter is successful, we'll have lots of cool plans that we're going to do in the future. We have lots of cool plans that we'll do in the future. All right. Top Hat Lord, is there plans for expansion past Definitive Edition, and will it follow a similar timeline as expansion in Multiverse? No. As I have said, well, yes and then no. Yes to the first question, no to the second question. As I've said in various other interviews and all over the Kickstarter, the Sentinels, the Multiverse Definitive Edition line of games, our intention is 6 products, the core game and 5 expansions, and each of the expansions will be a major box with lots of content, more content than any single expansion from the world of Sentinels the Multiverse before Definitive Edition, and our intention is to put out one of these major expansion boxes a year over the from now up through 2026, and and in between there, we're not going to be putting out any like mini expansions, single decks here or there, or like promo cards or anything. Everything goes in the box. You get the big core game box, you get big expansion boxes that are like that, and you're good to go. Next question. So much chat. Someday I'll get used to this. So much chat. All right. Etrak Neos asks, has any localization confirmed for non-English countries? We do have a couple of contracts in the works with a couple of different publishers overseas that want to do translations and localizations, and we'll see how that goes. I imagine if there's anything that comes up over the course of this event, of this Kickstarter, we will post an update about it on the Kickstarter, so you'll know when we know. James Sanders, can you show us a new villain card? I can show you a new villain card, and I would love to get into this box and do that very thing, but I'm also right now like in extreme chat debt. I've got so many chat questions I got to get to. So once I get to a point where I'm like caught up on the questions, I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna dig stuff out and I'm gonna show you stuff, and then I'll answer more questions as I'm sure will come up, and then I'll show you more stuff, and then like I want this to take, it's gonna take over an hour. I want this to take under 90 minutes, but it might go longer. I definitely want this to take under 2 hours. But we'll see what happens. This is my evening. Let's see. Level Up Leo asks, how has the Matriarch changed? She's currently my least favorite villain to play against. I believe that you will find the Matriarch much more enjoyable, but still challenging to play against. But she's not near as difficult as she used to be. And she's also, besides being difficulty level of how like scary she is, how likely she is to devour heroes, she's less like frustrating, annoyingly fiddly, that sort of thing. Like that's the exact sort of stuff that we've done a lot of work in smoothing out with the Definitive Edition. All right, more stuff. How does the game scale by player count? The game scales by player count using the H mechanic, and so you play with 3, 4, or 5 players playing. 3, 4, or 5 heroes played by 1 through 5 players. So if you're playing 1 player, great, you can play yourself 3, 4, or 5 heroes by yourself, which is honestly easier to do than it's ever been. If you're playing with 2 players, at least 1 player would need to play 2 heroes each. My favorite way to do it is 2 players playing. My favorite way to play with fewer than 3 players is 2 players playing 2 heroes each, but I mean, you got options. And then there's a bunch of mechanics that, like I said, there's the H mechanic. Whenever you see the H icon, that stands for the number of heroes in the game, not the number of players, but the number of heroes. So it'll always be 3, 4, or 5. And then there's a lot of mechanics, like something that says it hits all hero character cards. That scales by the number of players. Something that makes each player discard 1 card. That scales by the number of players. Something that makes each player destroy 1 of their cards in play. That scales by number of players. So there's lots of things, or rather by number of heroes. So there's lots of things that scale in that way in the game. Okay, more questions. Contramundio1 asks, which deck was the hardest to update for Definitive Edition? Hardest is a really difficult question because, like, do you mean hardest to do the initial design of, or the inevitable redesigns that happen to most of the decks in the iterations, or the playtesting? Because some of them, I would say, like the designs and even the redesigns were quite straightforward and easy, but then the playtesting was tricky, whereas others, the design part was hard, but once the design part was done, the playtesting went straightforward. Everyone had their own challenges. None of them were easy. None of them were like, this is easy, done. And none of them were arduously challenging. I've actually had more challenges happening already in the Rook City um, expansion, which is not called Rook City, but I internally refer to it as the Rook City expansion. Anyway, the first expansion we're already in playtesting on, and I've run into more challenges on that already, which is great. Is what I want. I want to be like always pushing on things. I have a hard time remembering the difficulty of challenge because challenge for me is like the point of doing the thing. So it's a tough question, and I don't have a good answer for you. Joe SC says, when you originally announced the Definitive Edition on the podcast, you mentioned not wanting to change rules and cards. What made you change your mind in this regard? Joe, that's a great question, and I could take up about 20 minutes now explaining that. But good news, on the main page of the Kickstarter, there's an interview that Trevor does with me that talks about that a little bit. Even more so, there's an audio-only interview that Trevor does with Adam and I that talks about that extensively. And there's also an episode of the Letters Page podcast that gets into that very thing. So I apologize for not giving you the straight answer right now, but rather than taking up a bunch of time that I could be showing these things off, I'm going to direct you to the content that we have already recorded and put out and posted on the Kickstarter. All right. Eric says, when will we see heroes and variants? Most importantly, the variants. Probably in the update that I announced yesterday that's happening next week or the week after that. That's called Heroes. How is the card stock for Definitive Edition? Is it the same as Oblivion or different? That's a great question. I would love to show you that. It's in this box. Okay. At some point, I'm going to convince people that they want to stop asking questions so I can show you this box. But if not, I'll just keep answering questions. Assuming there's no, Albeck asks, assuming there's no unexpected problem, when could backers expect to get their hands on it? So we have the November date as the will be delivered by date on the Kickstarter, and we feel very confidently that it will be delivered by that. We're definitely shooting for before that. We're always shooting for before that. I can confidently tell you, I feel so confident. I feel like 99.9% confident that it won't be after November. And I feel like 80% confident or 70% confident that it'll be before November. But I don't want to tell you, you should expect to have it in August. Because if I were going to say you should expect to have it in August, then we would have put August on the Kickstarter. So what I'm telling you is that November is the date that we feel confident that you will have it in your hand by November. All right. Camden asks, will the future Kickstarters for the Definitive Edition have stretch goals, or will they all be in this minimalist format? Camden, if there are any future Kickstarters for Sentinels and Multiverse Definitive Edition, which there may be, there may not be. We don't know yet. All we know is this Kickstarter exists right now. We're making this product as part of it. And in the future, we want to and are going to make more Sentinels and Multiverse Definitive Edition expansions. But will they be Kickstarters or not? Only time will tell. Will those Kickstarters have stretch goals? Gosh, I don't even know if those Kickstarters exist. Do those Kickstarters have stretch goals? Probably not. I love no stretch goals. Because usually what we would do is we'd have stretch goals that would add things, and then as the campaign unfolds, I do updates telling you what you got as part of the stretch goals. Instead, everything that I would do is a stretch goal, like a special token box that lives inside this box, all the different, the UV, there's UV printing on the box, the sides of the box. Let me see if I can get a whoop, whoop, whoop. They have that UV printing on the logo, and on the front it's embossed. Those are all the sorts of things that we would do as stretch goals. But this is the Definitive Edition. I want it to be the best it possibly can be. So every stretch goal that we could possibly unlocked, already in the box, already part of the game. more questions. Melody Dawn says, hope this is okay to ask, but how do you approach game design? As an aspiring designer, I'm curious what your first step is. That's great. Melody Dawn, that is great. And I do have a first step. Lots of times people ask me questions about how to this or that in the world of game design, game publishing, all of those things. And those are tricky questions because everybody does it their own way, and I don't think there is one correct way. I can come up with some incorrect ways, but like, what's the most correct way? But for me, it's story. What is the story that I'm telling? And I don't just mean what is the fiction that I'm telling, but the story that I'm telling is also what is the experience that the person sitting at the table playing the game has. How do they feel? What is it that when they're playing the game that like what's the interaction that they're having mentally and emotionally with the game that's unfolding in front of them, and making sure that the story of the game being both that feeling and also the fiction and the mechanics and the art and the graphics design, all those things tie together to create this interesting storytelling thing where we as creators make this thing in advance and then we send it to you and then you play it on your table and you have like sure, if somebody writes a novel, they write the novel, then you read the novel, but like it's prescribed. The stories that come out of good gameplay, good tabletop gameplay, are emergent. There are some games that have prescribed story, and as you play it, the story is like handed to you in a prescribed way, and I don't like that as much. I really like emergent storytelling, that you have all these pieces, and as you play with these pieces, the story unfolds at the table that is in its own way this unique experience that will be different for different people because of the one card that gets played at one time or the mechanic that happens or anything like that. So yeah, what is the story that I'm trying to tell is the question, and that's my answer to everything. How do I approach doing a live stream? What is the story that I'm trying to tell? I play the piano, and like, what is the story that I'm telling by playing a song? That's so much of my dynamics comes from what is the story of this song. Okay, I hope that's helpful. James asks, are there going to be health trackers for minions / non-character cards, or are we still using damage tokens? Yes, there are damage tokens. So there's the spinners for hero character cards and the villain character card. And then there are a smaller, but an amount of 1, 5, and 10 hit point tokens that come in here that are a much better design than before. Daryl and Ray, the graphic design team on this, did such a better job doing the graphic design layout than we did in any previous iterations of Sentinels. It's like night and day. But anyway, so these tokens are for tracking that. And you can see those tokens. There's the 1s, 5s, and 10s on the main body of the Kickstarter. There's an image that shows the tokens in there. Okay. Owlbeck said, oh god, no, the chat jumped. Oh my gosh, so much scrolling. You guys just keep asking questions. I'm never going to catch up. Owlbeck says, wait a minute. Don and Boss have variants now? Yes. Mimitone asks, I did want to ask about the money back guarantee shipping shenanigans for places that don't have FedEx centers and long shipping times like Europe. I believe that you did want to ask that because you told me you did want to ask that, but you have not yet asked a question in there, not just because of the lack of a question mark, but because a question wasn't posed as part of that. But I will gather a question from your words that you're asking, does the money back guarantee apply overseas? And the answer is yes. All right, Vivace66 says, I know he's not in it yet, but how likely is it that Omnitron X's deck will be able to interact with Omnitron's deck like it does in Enhanced Edition? Incredibly likely. I don't know why I would bother making an Omnitron hero deck that didn't interact interestingly with the Omnitron villain deck. Maybe I get boring. Maybe I get boring and not interesting or cool in the next year or two. That could happen. I could see it. I'm like a white seeming guy in my late 30s. I'm like I should be much more boring than I am, let's be honest. Brian says, might we see a critical event turned into RPG one-shots as a tie-in? The timing of that doesn't quite line up, but just like you have in comics all the time where there's an event that happens in the 80s and then they resurrect that event and do it in a different way in the 90s or the aughts, I could definitely see events that happen in the card game then showing up as like a redux of that event modernly. So all right, so many things. Answering questions from Paul. Okay, let's see. Owlbeck says, did you already start to work on the next expansion? Yes. Chris Willis says, will you release a single storage box at the end? No. Joe Montano says, Miss Drake asks, after 2026, can we expect the collapse of all things then? Expect nothing. AP Klosky says, what is the likelihood that Zhulong will appear as a villain in Definitive Edition as opposed to an environment target? 20%. I'm going rapid fire now, trying to catch up with you people. Cody asked, will there be hints to future content in art like there was in non-definitive edition? If you're clever enough to find them. Another letdown says, lol, maybe, nah, it's just that this isn't important. I think he got an answer this morning anyway. Wow, so that's not a question for me, Zach. Another letdown indeed. Ruby says, is the retail price going to be higher than the Kickstarter price? Yes, the MSRP of the game is $60, which is why it's $50 on the Kickstarter. You get it cheaper, you get it first, and you get the foil cards. Klutz says, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow, and is Tachyon faster? Asking for a friend. The airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow is 7 by some unit of measurement, and Tachyon is faster. Benjamin asks, thank you, Chris, for doing this. You are awesome, and I appreciate all of you and your team's hard work. Are there any plans to add new heroes in the distant future? Maybe? Not no. Quasi-Quirky, do you plan to do more Kickstarters for the other expansions? We'll see. Time will tell. Graham, does the box have extra space so that after expansions come out, we can fit the content in less boxes? I had Enhanced Edition and Core and Vintage box for the collector's case. I believe you meant to say fewer boxes, not less boxes. Okay, no, but I would love to show you how things fit in this box. I would love to. John asks, are you planning on making a frequently asked questions with the same 5 questions people keep asking? We already have. It's on the Kickstarter. There's a FAQ on the Kickstarter, and it has answers to these questions. The vast majority of the questions that we receive on this Kickstarter, in this video, and in the comments section, and on Twitter and other places, are answered by the main page of the Kickstarter one way or another. Not all of them, but the vast majority of them are. You might have to go down to the fact section, you might have to watch one of the videos we've made or listen to one of the audio interviews, but all of the answers are out there. I don't believe I've said anything yet in this live stream that hasn't been posted somewhere else. What else? Can you reveal a regular event card? I can. I would love to see some Tempest hero art. I bet you would, and I'd love to show you some Tempest art. Which hero villain environment has changed the most, and which one has changed the least? The hero that has changed the most is either Bunker or Tempest. The hero that has changed the least is either Argent Adept or Captain Cosmic. The villain that has changed the most is probably Omnitron, and the villain that has changed the least is probably Baron Blade, though they have all changed. The environment that has changed the most is probably Megalopolis, and the environment changed the least is probably Magmaria. And yet they still have all changed. Okay. In the Enhanced Edition core set, Baron Blade and Omnitron were the only villains to have variants. Will there be more villain variants than that in the Definitive Edition core game? Yes, I have talked about that, and it is true that there will be. There'll be one for each, but it's not going to be variants like that. They're the critical events. Adrian Wood says, if I sent a question to the letters page about Definitive Edition Kickstarter, which immediately got answered in the Kickstarter comments, how can I retract my question? We'll probably skip it, or we might answer it because we feel like talking about it on the air. But once you've sent something to the letters page question box, it's ours forever, and we get to decide what to do with it. Don't worry, we delete lots of questions that are sent to us. It's nothing against you guys. We love getting questions on the letters page, but we get lots of questions, and many of them are copies of each other, like not exact copies. So gotta make decisions here and there. All right. Continuing with rapid fire questions and answers. How does the number of heroes affect difficulty? In Enhanced heroes, game tend to be easier with 5 heroes than with 3 heroes. We have worked towards making that better, and I believe that it is better than it used to be. Also, there's things that hit all the players and all the heroes, and things that only hit one or the highest or lowest. There's also the H mechanic. Yeah, that exists. Will some villains be getting more than one critical event at some point? Possibly. When did you change your mind about Unity belonging in the core set, and why? So it wasn't so much about changing our mind about her belonging in the core set, so much as she didn't. When we made the original core set, Unity wasn't a thing that we had made yet, so she couldn't go in the core set, and now she is in the core set with the new remaking of it. So the answer is when we decided to do Definitive Edition. Jesse asks, now that we can assume that further Definitive Edition content is coming, can we expect events/critical events for those decks later, such as a Strike Force Invasion boss event, if that's not already one? You can certainly expect events and critical events for other decks and for current decks over the course of the definition stuff. We have lots of event ideas. Jonas says, do you have any idea how many variants the core heroes will be in the Rook City expansion? Variants for the core heroes in the Rook City expansion? Yes, I do have an idea. Not 0. I'm not going to get into it, but there will be at least one variant in the first expansion for Definitive Edition that goes to a core hero. At least one. More than that, who can say? I mean, I can, but I'm not going to. I don't want to talk too much about the future content. We are more than a year away from the release of that. All right. Chris, did I miss somebody asking a question about Oblivion? If not, how do you plan to change and refresh Oblivion gameplay? Will it become more accessible? I really like that this question came right up after I said I don't really want to talk about stuff that's happening next year. I really don't want to talk about stuff that's releasing in 2026. We are going to do stuff with Oblivion, and we have lots of really cool ideas to remake Oblivion quite thoroughly. We will get there. All right. Moving on. Josh, will you open up the box so we can see what's inside so you can tell us cool things about it? I'd love to. Rob, has timing structure for damage and damage trigger event changed? Rob, not. It's been clarified, is the way I would put it. And to that end, a thing that is going to be, I'm going to do an update tomorrow that has the core rulebook as a PDF in it. So you'll just have a link to the PDF available. And you'll be able to read the core rulebook, and that will also answer many questions. Colin asks, what stage in the development process does Adam start making the art for all the cards? Did the art have to get changed or replaced due to late stage design changes? No. The Adam starts making the art pretty early on in the process, but the very start of the process for Core Game Definitive Edition, at least, was Adam and I sitting down and going through everything. And so then there were some things that changed over the course of that, but they were very minor. And there's I think only one of them that Adam had already done the art after we made the change, and the art still ended up working. So worked out. Kaya says, "What's in the box?" I wish I could show you. It's just matches. It's a box full of matches. Still so many questions. All right, Adrian says, "I know you wouldn't make another collector's case, but is there a chance that you would be making collector's case compatible dividers for the new? I mean, the dividers that are in here, nah, because you put the cards. Huh? No, the dividers that are in here would work with the current collector's case if you wanted to. Yeah. So, yes, there is a chance they exist in the thing. I'd love to pick up this box and show you the dividers that are in there. All right. Vivace, wow, Vivace says that you will never be boring. I just caught up to when I said that. We're going to be here a while, folks. Level Up Leo says, would you like a slice of chocolate pizza? No, thanks. Chaotically Random says, you keep mentioning variants. Are there variants that you could share with us? I'd love to. I would love to. Yes. There are, yes, and I could share them. Russ says, tell Paul you're busy. I said exactly what I told him. He was asking me a series of questions. I said, he said, do you have any thoughts on this? And I said, my thoughts are I'm currently in a live stream. Remote Blackgate says, do you have a piece of Sentinels the Multiverse Definitive Edition art change that you like the most? That I like the most? Man, no. I like them all. They're great. There's some arts that there's some arts in this set that I absolutely adore, but none that I like the most. Brandon Johnson, can we see what's in the box now? Gosh, I hope so. Level Up Leo, you can have one too if you admit to being a goth minor. Ah, I see we're talking to Maggie. Nerd says, how do you balance adding new cards and keeping the 40 cards in a deck standard and making sure each card shows up enough in a deck to be strategically viable? Playtesting, playtesting, playtesting. Some decks have a card that's super key, and so they have multiple copies of that card so that they can get to that card easily. But some decks have a card that's super key, but only have one copy of that card, but then lots of ways to get that one copy from other things. And the important thing to do is to figure out, what are the things that you need? What are the things that there's the need, want, would be nice sort of hierarchy, and then how to get those things, and is it okay if you go through a game and never have a card that's in the need category? If not, you need to make it so you can for sure get that thing. And then just playtesting, iterate until you feel comfortable with the odds on that sort of thing. Code Turtle says, we'll probably see when you open the box, but are the foil card alt art or just shiny? Both are cool. They're not in this box. I don't have the foil cards printed yet. I just have this. And this is just the core game, so it doesn't have the foil cards in there. And they have the same art as the regular character cards. I am now going to start skipping questions if I see that I've already answered them. So if you post a question and chronologically I get past your question, you're like, man, he didn't even read my question out loud. It's because I've already answered it earlier in this video. And so either go back and watch it now, or when the video's done, this whole thing will still be available on YouTube. Okay. Dylan Croft says, is the art final? Yes. Alex Paul says, will Visionary be in the Dark Watch expansion? No, she will not. Chris Willis says, how can we write a question for the letters page in a way that guarantees it won't be deleted? Write a question that nobody else has asked that seems like the thing that we'd want to talk about on the air. The chat jumps again. Here we go. Chris says, are all villain variants being replaced by critical events? Yes. Albeck says, could we get a PDF of the rulebook? Yes. M. Steiner says, what drove the decision to include sleeves in the Kickstarter campaign and the GG product line? Man, I'd love to talk about sleeves. And M. Steiner, I will answer that question when I get to talking about sleeves. We're going to do this. We're going to talk about sleeves. We're going to get there. Risen Chud Jr. says, will there ever be an art book released? Ooh, maybe. That'd be a thing that'd be fun. Brandon Johnson, can you ask people to stop asking questions for a little while so we can see what's in the box? I feel like I have been passively aggressively doing that, but I will say overtly, I'm not going to ask you to stop asking questions. This is an AMA. I will answer the questions. I will answer all of your unique questions at least. But if the questions simmer down, I will be able to open this box and show you the things inside it. I will. I promise I'll do this thing. M. Steiner, any chance of more mini comic book content like we got in the Oblivion box? Not in the core game, not in Definitive Edition core game, but in the future, perhaps. Mark, ever consider doing companion novels to tell a story in the Sentinelverse? Man, so considered it, yeah, sure, but the amount of time it takes me to write a novel would be more so than the amount of time it takes me to make one of these. And one of these is gonna sell better than any one of my novels. Maybe. I mean, there's a chance that my novels will do okay, but like, I have a great desire and interest in writing novels. I have a bunch of novel ideas that are in a document. I have a bunch of novels that are started. I have a couple that I've finished earlier in my life that will never see the light of day. It's good to make things that are just for yourself and that aren't good enough. It's, practice. But there's, it's like right now, there's just no incentive. It's not a good idea for me to be spending my time writing novels right now. And it's a thing that I can just as easily do in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. All right. Jonas, Adam had to look through every piece of the old art for the core box. Yes. Did it hurt him a lot? Yes. Was it fun to watch him watch the old art? Like, I don't enjoy hurting him, and it wasn't so much about looking through all the old art as it was talking about what everything could ideally be for the new art. Adam and I are good friends, and we are often antagonistic to each other, but neither one of us delights in hurting the other. Although we both are good at playing it. Like, I'll do a bad pun, and Adam will be like, "Oh no, terrible!" But that's not how he actually feels about it. Owlbeck says, is there something you kept secret from us about the core box, like Ranet Kelvas for Oblivion? Yes. Rick says, are you re-releasing older editions? Will my collection eventually be useless to me? Ha ha! I love this question. In what way would your original edition be useless to you? Like, I don't understand. Am I breaking into your house and tearing up your cards, slashing over them, scribbling on them with Sharpies? Your original stuff of Sentinels, before you knew the Definitive Edition was a thing, in what way was the original edition devalued? Like, none. It just existed as, like, the valuation of it. And the valuation of the original edition is still whatever you hold it as. There's lots of people saying, I don't like the look of Definitive Edition. I'm going to keep playing my old one, as if that's a thing that is in somehow, like, an aggressive affront to me. No, please. I love the original Sentinels, the Multiverse. I think this is better. But not everybody's going to think this is better. That's a matter of opinion. My opinions are, like, slightly more weighty about Sentinel comics than other people's opinions are, but not in terms of what products you, the consumer, buys. So I am not here to break into anybody's houses. If I was going to break into people's houses and steal their games and ruin them, there would be no copies of original edition Sentinels of the Multiverse left. There would only be enhanced edition. I tried to get rid of all the original edition, but they keep propping up. So I clearly do not have the power to ruin original edition, which was bad, and I do have shame about things that happened in original edition. Not that they were necessarily my fault, but even still. Whereas I don't feel that way about enhanced edition, and I don't believe I will. Enhanced edition and Sentinels of the Multiverse in general is the game that launched Greater Than Games, which is an amazing company and a career for, a pile of people now. No, I don't. I'm not here to invalidate Sentinels of the Multiverse. I'm here to elevate Sentinels of the Multiverse to new heights. Hal says, will we ever see Citizen Anvil in a sweet-looking suit? Yeah, I mean, there's, the Hammer and Anvil Vengeance versions of themselves. Those are pretty sweet looks. All right. Michael says, have you considered doing an art book? Yes, we have considered doing an art book sometime in the future, perhaps. Chris says, will the foil set be available to pick up on its own? Yes, it will be available in retail, not in stores and things probably, but it will be available certainly through like our web store and at conventions and things, and it'll have an MSRP of $20. So get it now for free or later for $20. You choose. Maverick says, are there any pieces of art from the original edition that were cut from the definitive edition that you missed? Oh, pieces that you really liked but they needed to be cut. It's not that the art's like, there are very, very few arts in this game that it's just the same piece of art but redone. Like it's not just like, oh, the card had this art and now the new card has the same art but Adam drew it better. It's not like that. It's a rethinking of the look and feel of everything. So I don't think of the art in the way that you're describing it. Level Up Leo says, are retailers expected to get definitive edition at the same time as backers? No, retailers would be getting it slightly later, not like hugely later, but around the same time. But we would want all of the backers to have it in hand before retailers had it on shelves. Wesley says, sorry if you answered the question. Do you have the release date for definitive edition? Yeah, I've talked about release date earlier on. Rick says, you answered the question you thought I asked, not what I asked. Okay, let's scroll back up, Rick. You said, are you re-releasing all the older editions? As you re-release the older editions, will my existing collection eventually be useless to me, or is there reason to expect I'd still be mixing them in with new releases? I don't have any reason to expect you to be mixing them in with new releases as is I guess why I answered the question the way I did. We made the conversion document if people want to use it. I would never. All right. Cody says, when can I expect you in my house to cut up my original Sentinels? Just want to make sure that we can have the cat free to help. Cody, I was there last night. You might want to check your card games. Daniel says, Chris, you touched on novel writing and writing superhero stories. Do you read Sentinels Multiverse fan fictions? I absolutely do not. I love that they exist. I love that fan fiction exists, and I love that fan-created content exists, but I do not read or play or engage with any of that stuff because I have all the stuff that I'm doing, and I want to make sure that my stories of Sentinel comics that are in my brain are all my stories of Sentinel comics that are in my brain. So yeah, I love that it exists. I've not engaged with any of it, other than to say I'm thrilled to see it out there happening. Okay. Chris says, which game cons are you planning to go to this year? Oh man, real risky, right? I could maybe see I hope to be at Gen Con. We'll see how they handle Gen Con because that's risky. Maybe PAX Unplugged, maybe Essen. I would be shocked to anything more than those three. For this year, those are the only three I could possibly see us being at, and 60-ish% chance we'll be there. Wesley says, any thoughts about playing the Story of Definitive Edition live like the RPG? Playing through the Story of Definitive Edition live like the RPG. Seems interesting. We'd taken, yeah, I don't know. We'll play some games live, but right now it's tricky to do anything live. Okay. Oh, I think I've caught up. I think that I've caught up. Maverick says this may change the history, but is the current plan for each expansion to technically be playable out of the box 3 to 5 heroes instead of 2? Yes. But they won't be core games. They won't have like all the HP spinners and everything you need. But they will have enough heroes, villains, and environments to play right out of the box. So like Oblivion, where Oblivion was playable out of the box, but you really needed content from other expansions to make it go. All right. Sao says, will I be able to purchase just the sleeves? Not as part of the campaign, but afterwards. Okay. All right. I am now going to put a pin in the chat. So I am going to, it's not a thing that I have the ability to do, but I'm just going to like stop answering chat questions. And I wish that this chat in YouTube had a timestamp. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to declare question bankruptcy. I've answered all the questions up to this point, and I am declaring questions bankruptcy. I'm going to open this box. I'm going to talk about this stuff, and then I'm going to start taking questions again in the future. So feel free to ping us in any way you want to, but know that I'm not watching the chat. All right. Here we are. And so this is good to know. For my own record, I'm noting that about 44 minutes into the recording is when I'm actually getting to open up the box. So when we when I later, like, I want to post about it, I'm like, and at the 44-minute mark, we actually get into the box. So this is Sentinels of Multiverse Definitive Edition. Now, this is what is called a pre-production copy, meaning that it is printed not in the same way, but using all the same files and everything. So this tells us, hey, did we do everything right? Did everything line up correctly? And the answer is yes. But it also gave us some useful information. This is digitally printed instead of press printed. Huge long story on how the differences of that work. Not really relevant today, but do note that this, which I consider to be really high quality, turned out real nice, very beautiful, is not even as nice of quality as the final printed product will be. The final printed product will be even sharper, crisper, spiffier looking than this. So that said, I'm thrilled. I'm so excited. So core game, Sentinels of the Multiverse. It's got art on the different sides from various different eras of Sentinel comics, and on the back, it's got some components and some story and some various other things. All right, let's get into this box. Put the lid over there. All right, box. In the box, there are not one, but two books. Both of these books have different cover images now than these cover images. See, like, files have changed, but these are going to be, there's a book, there's both a rule book, and like I said, I will be putting a PDF of the rule book in tomorrow's update. And then there's a lore book, and the lore book will have lots of cool story things, and also like the comparison charts of like comparing the heroes, villains, and environments in terms of their complexity and their difficulty. Heroes are compared via complexity, by complexity. Villains are compared in difficulty, and environments are compared in terms of peril. Perilous. All right. Great. And then there's the rule book, and the rule book's got all kinds of useful stuff in it. Anyway, so 2 books in the box. Additionally, so now, like I said, some things are different. One of the things that's different is the insert in this box is incorrect. And by the insert, I mean the things that divide all the parts away from each other. I really like having a box that doesn't have a plastic insert. Personally, for my personal reasons, I dislike plastic inserts. But as you've seen perhaps if you've seen previous editions of Sentinels of the Multiverse, as you've potentially seen there, the Sentinels of the Multiverse has always used cardboard or cardstock inserts, and yet again, we're doing a hard paper formed insert for this, but like I said, this is the wrong insert. The insert, what we want and what will be happening, I've already gotten confirmation from the factory on that, is that the insert will have a channel like this, which fits all the cards, and then there will also be a channel like this that more cards go in. Now, why would I need a channel like this for putting cards this way? That doesn't make any sense. These all fit here. This is all of the heroes, all of the villains, and all of the environments. Yeah, but if you sleeve your cards, you'll need a bit more space because sleeves take up space. And so then the heroes, what I would probably do is put like the heroes here and the villains and environments there, or maybe like the heroes and the environments and the villains or something, but like, or maybe just go heroes alphabetically, and then halfway through the heroes keep going. I don't even have the heroes organized alphabetically. I have them by teams. I have the Freedom 5 and the Prime Wardens, and then their companions next to them. So organize it how you wish. That's the nice thing about these dividers. Speaking of dividers, the dividers are cool because they show an image and the name of the things. Like the environment dividers are green. They have a picture. Here, the camera's trying to focus on my face, and so it won't. Yeah. Pretty good. Anyway, that, and then on the back side of the card, it shows the name and all that, but it also has a complete list of all of the cards in the deck. So that's a nice handy thing to have. Some new technology there. All right. So like I said, we've got all the heroes, villains, and environments. If you want to know who all the heroes, villains, and environments are in this, like I said, there's various things on the main page in which to talk about them, but I'll tell you. It's Legacy, it's the Freedom 5, Legacy, Wraith, Bunker, Tachyon, Absolute Zero, and their sidekick / intern Unity. And then the Prime Wardens, Argent Adept, Fanatic, Captain Cosmic, Tempest, Hakka, and their ally, friend, supporter, and more, Ra. And then there is the villains, Baron Blade, Citizen Dawn, Grand Warlord Voss, Omnitron, Matriarch, and Akash Buddha, and then a series of environments like Megalopolis, Freedom Tower, Insular Primalis, Magmaria, the Ruins of Atlantis, and the Wagner Mars base. So none of that is anything that, like, anyone who is familiar with Sentinels hasn't heard of. Those are all characters from the pages of Sentinel comics that are well known, and they should be. This is the core game. But we are, in future expansions, going a bit further afield, and we'll have some maybe unexpected content, let's say. One of the things in here, as I mentioned, there will be a channel for this, and then the channels around here will be slightly different, but it leaves a space for this box, and this is the token box. Now, this is another thing that is slightly, that there's a reason we do a pre-production copy. This token box isn't quite tall enough, which is, you can see that it's here, that the token box should be a bit taller. Oh no, this stuff here, it doesn't quite fit, but that's okay. And also, I don't have it organized particularly well because I keep taking things out and putting them back. But I'll probably, in my box, since I'm not going to sleeve my cards, have the secondary channel be the place where I put character cards and HP tokens, the spinner tokens. Not tokens, not tokens at all. HP spinners. There we go. HP spinner is a good name for like a guy who runs a circus. Ah, it's me, HP Spinner, here to show my latest act. Snake oil salesman. All right, so speaking of old HP Spinner, HP Spinners, hooray, they're great. They look great. They work great. This is another reason that it's good that we have a pre-production copy, is that we learned that this window wasn't quite right, and so they're making it a little bit bigger and changing the graphic on it so that it fits perfectly. And this is why we do those. But we've got these beautiful 5 different spinners, and then we've got the one big HP spinner for villains. Oh no, 199 hit points. It's hard to turn this on the camera, and because I'm turning it in the opposite direction of what it looks like to me on the camera. That if you're fighting against a villain that has 199 hit points, you must have dealt 1 damage to Akash Buddha. Anyway, okay. Then we've got hero and villain character cards. And so hero character cards look like this. Here's one. Let's look at Tempest. No, the other way. The other way, fingers. You can do it. Yeah. Good job. Tempest. So you've got the name, you've got some art, you have your hit points over here, you've got your nemesis icon here, and then you have an innate power at the bottom. Focus. And that innate power has not changed, whereas some characters have innate power that have changed a little bit. Here's one that's changed a little bit. Unity. Somebody asked how Unity's changed. Well, one of the things that's different about her is that her base power doesn't just allow you to play a mechanical golem, but allows you to discover one, which means you can just reveal from the top of the deck, and the first one you find goes right into play. That's nice. You don't even have to have one in hand. Okay. There's also first appearance variants. First appearance variants, there's 1 for each hero, and the first appearance variants are a variant card that shows the first appearance of that hero, and that's why the card looks a little bit different. Like these have this like modern hero isolate black border. This is a little bit different. What's that? Oh, it's because it's the entire comic book cover that is actually the first appearance of that character. So you can see here for Arch and Adept's first appearance that it shows, it's got his name. Oh, wait, hold on, that's not his first appearance. That's the incapacitated side. This is his first appearance. I was like, wait a minute, why does that look different? But it shows the name of the character at the top, and then it shows the cover that is from their first appearance. And this one is from. All right, this thing is like I'm looking on the cover. I'm like, where? And it's got the date up here in the cover, but it's really tiny. That's all right. It's also at the bottom of the card. The comic book cover, bottom of the card tells me is Toll of Destiny #1, which is from December of 1972. Who knew? A lot of people. Right. Yep, that looks good. And that gives you a brand new focus power that is unique. Oh, there we go. To this first appearance card. Anyway, difficult to make my camera focus on these cards. So I will go ahead and say in the chat, I have the chat pulled up. I'm just intentionally ignoring it, but I am not responding to questions in the chat while I show you all of these things. But if the first person to tag Greater Than Games in the chat and request a specific first appearance card, I will show you the cover of that, the front of that first appearance card. Meanwhile, I will show you some villain character cards. Sorry, I've got all these things. I've been playing them. So, all right. So here are villain. I saw Chris say first appearance Unity first, so Chris is going to get Unity in a second. Actually, I'll just do that first, but then I can move on. Took me the same amount of time. First appearance Unity is maybe the funniest first appearance card to me, because it is fortunately it says right at the top first appearance Unity, but it's a cover that seems awfully focused on the character of Hakka. Hide my face so it'll focus on the card. Maybe a little bit, because the Unity's first appearance in comics, which she does have down here, little thing that says, and introducing, if she makes it out alive, Unity. Boom. So that is the first appearance of Unity is from this Freedom 5 annual book, that has Hakka and the Slaughterhouse 6 on the cover. Yeah. Oh, and then it's got her base power there. Focus. Yeah. Sparks. Okay. Great. I saw more requests coming through, but I said the first one. I'm just going to do just the one. There'll be time for more in other points in the future. So, yeah, you've got all of these villains, like Akash Buddha and Omnitron and Voss and Citizen Dawn. Matriarch, where are you hiding? There you are, Matriarch. You can't hide from me. I mean, obviously you can. You successfully did so. Villain cards. Ooh. And a cool thing about the villain cards, a clever thing that I believe it was Daryl that came up with this idea, that when you have your villain character card, you've got all your gameplay information right there. Oh, that focused nicely. Well done, camera. So Baron Blade, all the stuff there. But it doesn't have any of the setup information, because once you're playing the game, the setup information doesn't matter. You're not actively using it, because it's right there. At the very start of the game, you'll pull out the card and you hold it in portrait instead of landscape orientation, and you look at the top of the card and it says, oh, setup, do this thing. And so you do any things in the setup. So any of the different characters have their setup rules there. In fact, here, let me grab one of the critical event variant cards. They have more setup text. Yeah, like Baron Blade's variant card, as I mentioned, the critical events. This is Baron Blade's critical event card. On the front, it says critical event. It has the name of it and the date of it, and it has some story, and it has the comic book, and it has the number of collections you can bring into it. What does all that mean? Like I said, I'll post the rule book tomorrow. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of how the game works. But then when you flip it over, and it's got a character card, it's got the variant card, and it's the Mad Bomber Blade character card, but it has this setup information, and this setup has a lot more rules. And so we turn it sideways, and you can read the setup. Oh no. Huh? Nah, I don't know why I keep trying this. I need to get a webcam that's meant to focus on close-up things. Anyway, even when you have 4 or 5 lines of text, it doesn't make the resulting character card like not work. It's just like, there's this amount of text here, as compared to a card that only has, say, 2 lines of setup text. So, okay. Since I already spoiled critical events, I can say, so yes, there are critical events, but there's also regular events and regular event cards. Let's pull one that we've never talked about before. Regular event cards have the name of the event. They've got the date of the event. It's got some story. It's got the comic book cover. Has a collection limit, and it tells you which villain you're playing against. Focus. Wow, that worked out really well. It tells you which villain you're playing against, and it gives you a bit of rules text when you're playing against that villain for that story. And then if you beat the event, the card flips over, gives you more story. Underneath that story, it tells you which comic book issues were part of that event. It gives you the cover of one of the final issues. And then it gives you 2 collection powers that you can use in future games. So it creates this campaign thing. Since you have all of these events, each with their own names and dates, you can put them in chronological order and play them in the order they happen in the comics. And then as we release more events and more products in the future, you will have more things you can just slot right into the story. But just like real comic books, you don't have to necessarily read them / play them in chronological order. Okay. All right. So we've talked about hero cards. And hero cards have an incapacitated side as well. Mm-hmm. And incapacitated things now have like a bit of like flavor text there at the top, and then the 3 incapacitated abilities. Fantastic. So you now have hero character cards and hero variant character cards, as well as villain character cards and event cards. So, ta-da. So nice. What else do we have here? Token box lid, token box. Somebody's asking about dividers in the token box. And as it's just one big empty box. Oh, it has one token in there. Oh, I know what token it is. It has a secret token in there. Secret token. But there's so I just have bags of the various tokens in here. And I actually found it super easy to just, when I was playing it, have these bags like so, and open the bags and reach in and grab the things I needed. But I could also pour them. What I'll probably do with my version in the long run, once I can move once the divider is correct and I can move the character cards and the spinners into that other well, is I'll probably just put them all in here, because there's only 4 different kinds of tokens. There's +1 tokens, there's -1 tokens, there's HP value tokens, and there's conditional modifier tokens. The conditional modifier tokens are really great. Again, Daryl and Ray knocked it out of the park on these ones. You've got 2 important useful kinds of tokens. One is this target cannot deal damage. If you have a target that can't deal damage for some reason, you just put this token on it, and it's got like the little the fist icon of can't deal damage. And oh, now see, now the camera doesn't want to focus on me. But what if you forget? What if I forget what that means? Oh, don't worry. On the back of the token, it has the text that just straight up says what that token means. I'll just put it. There we go. There we go. Too close. Whatever. Anyway, it says cannot deal damage on the back. And the same thing here. If you've got a target that's immune to damage, you give them a little shield token. On the back of the little shield token, it says this target is immune to damage. Ooh. So, anyway, but that's all the conditional tokens we've got. We've got +1s, -1s, can't deal damage, can't be dealt damage, and hit point tracking. And that's it. That's how straightforward those effects are now. Right. I will go ahead and take questions for a little bit now about the stuff we've talked about the stuff that I've shown off. I don't want to get too in the weeds on other things. And then I do want to talk about card sleeves as well, because I said I would, and I have those here. So let's do some questions, and then I'll do some card sleeves. So I'm going to take a look back at the chat now. All right. So I'm sure I missed some. I'm going to start here. I see Rick says, will you be doing small bag, single deck releases, or stick to theme boxes? What's your strategy? 6 products is our strategy, Rick. There's going to be the core game and 5 expansions that come after it. And those are all going to be big box things. There's not going to be any like single deck expansions. Mini expansions, what we called those before. They were actually the right call when we did them, but the way that the printing and shipping industry has changed makes them different. And also, we didn't want to have to make this like this weird gotcha game of you got to buy the game and then you go find these promos and find these expansions, and like, nah, just you get a core game and it has all the heroes, villains, and environments in it, but also events and promos and all this stuff just right in the box. So that is our strategy and plan. All right. Risen Chud Jr. says, what is your favorite non-critical event? I don't have favorites. I don't have favorites. My favorite non-critical event. The easy answer to this question is one that I can't tell you about, because it's one that I'm actively working on for the next expansion. And that's my favorites are the things that I'm usually like actively working on, as opposed to the things that I've already created. And I don't yet have a favorite to play of the ones I've already created, because I've played them all dozens of times, but it will take more times than that for me to be like, oh, you know what? This is my favorite style of play. But again, I don't really have a favorite style of play. It's one of my strengths as a game designer is there's lots of different styles and varieties of the ways that I like to play the game. Maggie, why did you say a DJ to me in the chat? You sent me a message that says a DJ? Am I wiki? All right. Okay. Oh my god. The questions, they came so fast. Where do villain and hero character cards fit in the box? Clutch Cement. There's 2 places you can put them. You can put them here in this well, or you can put them here in this box. They fit very nicely in both places. Sir Lagzalot says, will the token bags have holes for the air to get out of? Yes. Hal says, no tokens for altering damage types? No. Chris Willis says, would you consider releasing a tips or a guide for players to create our own content? Chris Willis, I'm not likely to release that sort of thing. I wouldn't know where to tell you to start. Like, that's not, because I start by saying, okay, what stories from the pages of Sentinel comics am I going to tell? And so, like, that's my tip, is like, figure out what story you want to tell and go from there. You know, it's tricky. Shintsurugi asks, what are the dividers made out of? They sound great when you strum them. Very nice. They're the same cardstock. They're the same cardstock as the cards. I forgot to talk to you about the cardstock. I'll talk to you about the cardstock when I talk about sleeves. That's a component thing. Kaya says, I really like the shared iconography and terminology across Sentinel Comics games. Makes things easier to remember. Yeah, me too. Me too. Josh says, could you read us the power text on Arjun Adams' first appearance variant? It was very hard to read. I could. I'm feeling friendly. Feeling generous. Where do these go? Toll of Destiny. Here we go. Boop. Arjun Adams' first appearance power is called Improvise, and the power is play the top card of your deck. If it's an ongoing, activate the perform on it. So free card play, and then free perform activation. It's pretty nice, pretty solid, pretty powerful. It can have some unintended consequences depending on the card that you top deck, though. James says, how many of each type of token are there? I don't remember. I don't have that all memorized off the top of my head, but it's all in the rulebook, and so I could pull up the rulebook and read you that number, or I'm going to link you the rulebook tomorrow. Dominique asks, how excited are you for Definitive Edition by numerical rating on a scale of 1 to Oblivion? I am Oblivion +1 excited for Definitive Edition. Mimatone asks, can we maybe get a different first appearance variant, as Unity is in the topmost Kickstarter video? Can we maybe get a different... Oh, you're wanting to get a different one because you've already seen that one. Well, gosh. That's... All right, Mimatone. Yes, you specifically can request one, so I'll look for your request coming up here. Nobody else gets to request, just you. You get to request one. All right. Julio Hinkson Jr. says, can you show off how much Bunker has changed? Y'all mentioned it earlier in the stream. Yes, I can, and in fact, I intend to in the update talking about heroes. Bunker is one of the characters that I want to talk about in that update to show you all the cool different things we're doing with Bunker. Antlers Scenarios asks, any plans for a deck based on Daybreak? No. Alex Paul says, how many events and critical events will there be for the storyline of the core game? Dozens. There will be dozens. And I'm caught up with the questions again. I'm a winner. Wait. Oh, no, here they come. Haha. Jacob Anderson says, does Akash 3 have a first edition variant, and can you show them? No, Akash 3 is... No, Akash 3 is not... No, Akash Buddha is a villain in the core game. Who is this Akash 3 you speak of? I've never heard of such a thing. All right. Mutone says, I'll request Hakka for Maggie. All right. That's a fair request. Maggie, why didn't you answer my question about being a DJ? Am I a DJ? What's going on? What's happening? But oh yeah, first appearance Hakka is great. And since you requested it for Maggie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of this card and I'm going to send it to Maggie, but I'm not going to share it with the chat. So next thing, no, I'm kidding. This is first appearance Hakka. Let's see if we can get it to focus on the card. Pretty okay. I love this Golden Age cover. This cover is from what, 1948, and you can tell. Come on, light, stop being so glowy. Focus. Somebody said put a hand behind it. Here's a hand. I'll put a hand behind it. Okay, whatever. Anyway, yep. So it's got this Arcane Tales cover. It's got a bunch of cool, fun things, and then it has an innate power that is called Aranga, which says power, destroy one target with 3 or fewer hit points. Hakka regains 3 hit points. So he can just straight up destroy something. And do note that it's not you may destroy a target, you must destroy a target when you use the power. But if there are no targets in play with 3 of your hit points, he still regains the 3 HP. So neither of them are optional, but also neither of them are gated by the other. Okay. Let's see. Oh, maybe. All right. Let me scroll back up. Did I miss some questions? Yeah. So Mickey says, are there plans to release a definitive edition in the Sentinels video game app? Well, there's an FAQ on the main page of the Kickstarter that goes into Handelabra's stance on that. The answer is yes, they intend to, but they currently haven't announced anything definitive about that yet. Dominique says, I assume that Bunker is the most changed deck in the core box. Who would you say is the second most changed deck in the core box? Tempest. Todd says, any chance of seeing a side-by-side, card-by-card comparison of Definitive Edition to Enhanced Edition for a couple of decks, the entire deck during the Kickstarter? Yes, I will do that thing. As promised. I'm not going to show any more first appearance hero cards. I need to move on. Rise asks a question about Omnitron X turns. Who can say what Omnitron X turns look like? There's no character card. There's no character named Omnitron X in Definitive Edition, but Argent turns are quicker than before. He still is a complicated hero, but he's much quicker than before. Wigginer says, can you tell us the expected number of heroes, environments, and villains in the future expansions? Yes, I can. I can, and I will not. Rick says, how long does the AMA go? I have to go buy this week's comics. The nice thing is you can stop whenever you want. I can't. I can only stop when I finish, but anybody can stop watching whenever they want. I do not have the power to hold you here. And this video will be available for your viewing pleasure later. Like I said, I don't want this to go over. We're not going to go over 2 hours. So probably another 20 minutes at the most. I want to go through the contents of this box to talk about sleeves and such. And that is about it. So yeah, 20 minutes to the outside. Seriously says, it sounds like there will be roughly 6 purchases of $50 a piece to get a full set of Definitive Sentinels. Do I have that right? The core game is a $60 core game. The MSRP for the core game is a $60 game. We're selling it on the Kickstarter for $50. I don't know what the prices of expansions will be at this point. It's too early to say. Certainly not more than $60. But yeah. Rhett says, do the foil cards have alternative artwork? No. Brian says, is First Appearance Hakka the earliest comic in the box? That's a good question. I don't think so. Because I think... But as I say the words, I don't think so. Now I'm thinking that maybe I do think so. Let's see. That's a good question. October of 1948, 1990, 1965, 1970, 1954... October of 1948. There's another character. Yeah, that's right. Right, because it's when the new writer comes in and changes things. Of course it is. So there are 3 characters that are all tied in 55, 77, 57, 58, 72. There are 3 characters that are all tied for their first appearance because there was a new kind of in the Golden Age. There's this thing where they came in like, okay, hold on, we need to introduce some new stuff. So in the same month, they introduced 3 new characters. One of those new characters was a new take on an extant character, and the other 2 characters were brand new characters. The extant character was Legacy. That's when we get the first appearance of the Legacy that we think of as Legacy, not his father. And then the 2 brand new characters that were introduced that month both became quite popular in their own rights for their own sorts of things, and it's Hakka and the Wraith. So that is what we got there. You had me going back into the box. I thought I was done in there. All right, questions. Oh, will you give an example of a reward for completing an event? I believe you referred to them as a collection. Yes, Raging Were Panda. That's a great question, and yes, I will give you an example of that. That's the sort of thing I want to talk about. Also, you're a Raging Were Panda, so I feel like it's in my best interest to answer your questions. But yes, those are collections. When you beat a regular event, you get then a collection, and we'll pull the collection from... Yeah, we'll pull the collection from Akash Buddha's event. Akash Buddha's event, her regular event card is the Mother Earth event, which is the formation of the Prime Wardens. Of course it is. That's her big event. And the collection for that, on the collection side, it tells the story, it shows the comic cover, it shows all the comics that are part of that event, and it's a ton of comics. Virtuoso the Void, Volume 1, number 152, Absolution, issue 68, Cosmic Tales, Volume 2, issue 190, Prime Wardens, Volume 1, issues 1 through 6, the Mother Earth one-shot, and the Freedom 5 Annual number 10. Freedom 5 Annual number 10 being the cover that is pictured for that thing. Awesome. Then you get your collection. Your collection has 2 different abilities, and you can use one of the 2 of them at some point in your turn. And once you've used one of those 2 abilities, that card is removed from the game. You can't use it for the rest of that game that you're playing in. So you can only use one of these 2 in a single game. And the first one is called Bloviating Academic. And they all have a name, and then they have some flavor text, and then they have an effect. And I'm going to just read the entire thing. Bloviating Academic. Soothsayer Carmichael is annoyed by the way you do things. If you would spend even a moment considering the ramifications of your actions, he rages, pacing this way and that. He has some good points, but he really needs to get over himself. So then it has a mechanical effect. Reveal the top 3 cards of one deck. Replace them in any order. All right, and then the other effect is called Primordial Power. Over millennia, Akasha Buddha has become a part of this world in a way that cannot be easily undone. In fighting her, you fight the planet itself. Similarly, in defeating her, you gain some dominion over this world. Destroy and or bury up to 3 environment cards. And if you haven't heard the word bury before, it is a new mechanic we've introduced in, not necessarily a new mechanic, but a new term for a mechanic that we've introduced with Definitive Edition. And if you destroy a card, you put it in the trash. If you bury a card, you take it and put it underneath its deck. So you can use that collection to bury one, you destroy and or bury up to 3 cards. So you'd be like, I'm going to destroy that 1 card and bury those 2 cards. Fantastic. So, all right, going back to questions. This is Difficult Podcast says, how thick are the dividers? Are they similar to the collector's box dividers, or are they more like standard box dividers? They're more like standard box dividers. They're the same card stock as the cards. All right, Ronway says, how does Vanessa feel about getting booted from the core game in Definitive Edition? I get very few questions about this, and I'm surprised that I don't get more. Yeah, Visionary's not in the core game. She's not in the core game. Maybe she'll be back someday, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how she feels about it. She's still in the past. She'll have to break through time to make it into the present. All right. Any plans to make a new playmat for Definitive Edition? No, playmats have not been worth it for us in a variety of ways, and so we don't plan on making one. But who knows? Maybe I'll eat my words in a while when we put out a new playmat. But I would be surprised. I've been surprised before though, like a couple of times. All right. Levy says, I've heard there will be new, never seen things before in this Definitive Edition. Will they be kept till the last expansions, or will there be new things in for example, the next expansion? There are new things in this box. As mentioned, every villain in this box has a variant in the form of a critical event, and those are all new. So starting with this box, there's new things. Minor new things, but new things nonetheless. Every expansion will have things you've never before seen. KH says, what specifically do you mean when you say games are smoother? Are there less reactions to keep track of? Yes, and more importantly, they're more specifically codified into how they work in a particular way. Are they just better highlighted so they're easier to remember? So yes, they're. But also, just like, you have to see it to believe it. It's one of the reasons that we wanted to do the money back guarantee. We're like, we can spend a lot of time explaining the ins and outs of everything about how this works, but the best thing to convince you that Definitive Edition is just better is to play Definitive Edition. Games are faster. Heroes reach their I'm myself now point much earlier in the game, and villains reach their I'm gonna murder you now point much earlier in the game. Like, the game doesn't feel rushed. It just feels like a lot of the moments have been removed and streamlined. So that's some of what I mean. Teo Mesos asks, is Mr. Chomps still as cute and fierce? I would say that he definitely is still cute and fierce, but in a different way than before. Some people like the new art more, some people like the new art less. That is the deal with opinions. Let's see. More. Kia says, how embarrassed should I be that I didn't realize the scene on both versions of Instrumental Conjuration was a reference to Link on Mount Tamaranch until I saw the Definitive Edition version. Well, I don't know. I can't pronounce that word. I've never played any Zelda games. Zelda's the Zelda's the character. Link is the princess. Zelda's the character, the main character. Because you play the game Zelda, and you're Zelda, the guy with the sword, and you save the Princess Link. That's what I believe is the case, right? All right. Todd McConkle says, "Does Unity have any new bots? I assume all the old bots return." Yes, all the old bots return, and I have a cheating answer of yes, but it's actually no. One of the bots has been renamed, and so it's like, oh, well, there's this new bot name you've never heard before. But no, it's all the same bots. And yet they all work a bit different. Vulcan Gaming says, "I second the question of the plans for possible playmat." And I give the same answer that I did on the first one. Dominique, I lost the thing. Where to go? Here we go. Dominique says, "When you bring collections to an event, there's a limit to the number of collections you bring. Is that for your whole team or per hero?" That's for the whole team. The team gets this many collections they can bring in battle, because any player can act. You have these the collections are out there, and any player can be like, "Oh, I'm going to activate that collection now." So, Jonas says, "Please tell us about the fate of Visionary in the Definitive Edition." No. Patrick Curtin says, "Soothsayer Carmichael art veal?" No. Just text. He's just in the story. Chris says, "Have you considered making a Sentinels Go style game like Pokemon Go?" No, I have not. I seems outside the bounds of what we would do with Sentinel comics. Do note, folks, as soon as I can stop answering questions, I will get to this box, which is also important. At a certain point here, I'm just going to declare question bankruptcy again. But let me see. Let's see. Okay. Do we have less board wipe cards? Yes, or at least they're different now. Arjun attacked a horde of chickens for cruelty of the kind. I know that is a Zelda reference in which you are the character Zelda with the sword and the shield going to save the Princess Link, but I've never played any of those games. So here we go. These are some cards from regular edition Sentinels of the Multiverse. There's some boss cards. Look at that. Look at that classic 2010 art from Adam. I have these to show off the weight and stoutness of these cards. I would pull cards out of the box, but an important thing to note is that the card stock used on the cards in this preview box that I have is not correct. We got it. We're like, I want stouter. I want better. I want stronger. I mean, that's fine. That's why we do a pre-production copy, is to get more card examples. And so we got a couple of different card examples. The trick is, so this is I want to say a 310, yeah, because original was a 310 uncored card. So that it's a 310 is just the weight of it, and uncored, it just means that it's just one real thick piece of paper. It doesn't have multiple layers of paper. And then you print ink on it, and putting the ink on it does actually make it a lot more sturdy. It kind of seals in. Because if you think about the way a piece of unprinted on paper feels, it's got kind of like a rough texture to it, and then when you print on it, the ink like fills in a lot of those crevasses in the paper. And so they said, okay, well, how do you feel about, because they sent us a 280 uncored with the box, and the 280 uncored is fine. It's got like a good crispness to it, but it's a lot. This is one of the original Sentinels cards. This is one of the new Sentinels cards. And this is like the amount of sturdiness of this versus the amount of sturdiness of this. Like, these are pretty resilient, but like not resilient enough. Not resilient enough for me. A problem with the... This is one of the new card stocks that we're using. Problem with the original edition cards. Well, I'll show you this actually at the end. It's a good reveal. So then there are new cards. They said, okay, what about a 280 gray core? And 280 gray core means that it's got multiple layers. You can't see edge on very well here, but it's 280, so it's very resilient because it's got that internal core. And actually here, there. So you can see by gray core, it means that there is a white layer that is printed on, and then there's a gray core, and then there's another white layer on the other side. And so that is like, that's that. And so that's trash now, but I've got more of those cards. So yeah, how about a 280 gray core? I'm like, 280 gray core, like that's nice and sturdy. It's got good spring to it. I like that. But it's not enough. It's not like, it's the original card. It's gray core. It's not quite what I want. It's not quite right there yet. So then they said, okay, how about 350? Yeah, 350. 350 ivory core. Oh my god, this card feels so dense. And this is, again, unprinted on. So once you put ink on it, it gets another layer of ink for extra stability. So if we're looking at like the sturdiness of these are pretty similar. Yeah, this one's definitely a bit stouter than this one, which makes sense. This is 310, this is 350. Yeah, and then oh, I showed you the gray core card. So the TCF Stalwart. The first line is this card is immune to melee damage, but that's not correct. But you can see that this is uncored. Like, so this was the gray core card. You can see the gray cord in there. This card is uncored, so it's just one piece of paper all the way through. Like, there's no layers to it. And so even with this ivory core card, which is stouter, and it's got like, yeah, that's got a good snap to it. That's got a good. The other thing you can see is when I tear this card. Yeah, there you go. I hope it shows up on the camera. So this is an uncored card. It's just white all the way through. This is an ivory core card. It's still white all the way through because the core is ivory, but there are the distinct layers of like the white that is printed on the ivory layer in between, which is a slightly different color of white. You can maybe see there a little bit. So yeah, that's a good amount of sturdiness. The other thing that's really nice about these new cards, I have more. These new cards versus the old cards is that this card, if I take it and I bend it like this, oh, 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 to here, oh, look at that, look at that. Now, if I let go of this card, it's gonna be bent, right? Like, yeah, it's gonna maintain that, but I can just boop, 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 and it's fine, totally fine, totally fine. Whereas this card, original Sentinels, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna bend it like that, same thing. I'm gonna bend it, and I'm gonna bend it, and right there, you can see it start to fail. Boom. I don't know if you saw that moment of failure, but now it's broken. It's got a permanent damaged crease through it. I'm gonna try to do that again because the break point is really dramatic. Let's see, make sure you can see the line. There you go. There we go. No, permanently ruined. Don't worry, I have lots of these. So people had asked, is the card stock of this new version better or worse or what? Way better, much better. All right, so that's cards. Where are sleeves? They're in another box that I have over here. So these sleeves, they sent us 10 of them, and they are not the right size, and they're not supposed to be. This wasn't a sample for them to say these are the sleeves you're getting. There's like, no, this is the finish and the strength, the quality, the build. But like the dimensions are wrong. If I take a card and I hold it up to it, this is actually the right card size, but way too tall, and that's fine. Like they're not supposed to be. They have what they call from what their factory refers to as a clean gloss, but as we noted, we called it in the thing a satin because it really is. It's not the super shiny gloss that you get from like Glossy, but nor is it the super flat matte. It's satin. It's somewhere in between the two, and they're fully clear, like right? I can see you, amazing. But here, let me. I have the card from Bunker's deck here. There's a new Bunker deck, so it's got the Bunker deck back. Yeah. And I picked a card that has some very. It's the card that does the most interesting thing with flavor text. Yeah. Anyway, even the attribution on the flavor text. I got it to focus once. It doesn't tell you what issue or anything. It's the one that doesn't. But so they fit. Oh, very nice, very snug. And the size, again, size is irrelevant. But with this card in the sleeve, too tall. But regardless, you can see like a little bit of a gloss on it. It's actually very shiny because, as you've seen when I've been holding up non-glossy things, my light's been reflecting on it. But perfectly clear, you can see everything through it. But that's not the important part of what we're talking about here. No, Mimitone asks, are they? I happened to look over at the chat, and I saw that somebody asked, Mimitone asked, if they are tarot size for the heroes. Like, no, the width isn't right because the tarot size cards are wider than this. So this is the width of the regular cards, but weirdly tall. I don't know what size cards use sleeves like this. Here we are. Put Bunker's card away. I'm gonna need that turret mode. Okay, so this card sleeve. I have not tested these out myself. I know Daryl has. But I have not done the pull test. And the pull test is where you put your fingers in the thing and you pull against these seams. Because of course, the weakest part of this card, like tearing it here in the middle of the plastic, is like, okay, how hard do you tear plastic? Like these are quite stout. But the question is, how strong is this seam? Like, how good is that? And so I've already got like 4 fingers in here, and I'm putting enough pressure on here. Like I put that bunker card all the way down into it and all the way back out. And like I said, the bunker card was very tight fit in here because these aren't quite the right sizes, and it didn't split the edges at all. And I'm like putting some pressure here. I'm actually being. I'm telling you, I'm nervous. I'm like, how? This is a very, like, most card sleeves you do this to it, and you're gonna break them very quickly. Okay, I'm actually pulling now. Come on. I can destroy this card sleeve. I am strong enough. The question is not, can a card sleeve be destroyed by a person? The question is, how much strength does it take? I'm not worried about these breaking easily. There we go. That's how much. Yeah, these are pretty sturdy sleeves. These are pretty sturdy sleeves. I'm pretty pleased with them. That's great. That is great. Like I said, I hadn't personally tested that yet on them. So they are sturdy and they look good and they feel good in the hand. Man, I don't care about a card sleeve personally. Like, I don't sleeve my cards. Like, it's everyone's their own decision. And for me, I'm not a sleeving person. And yet I am impressed with the quality of these sleeves, I gotta say. All right, let's look at the chat. What have I missed here? I'll go back to Moontone's question. Luke says, "Are the sleeves slippery or not?" I mean, like, they're made of plastic, so like they're a little bit slippery, but they're not like here. I have the 2 pieces of the card sleeve that I just tore in half, and the outside and the inside feels about the same. And like, there's like, a little bit of plastic side slippery, but they're not like, whoo, they're not like a frictionless surface. I'm not going all headlong over here. Okay. Next question. That's not for me. That's for Maggie. I see. Christopher's gone on a rampage. I did go on a rampage. A tear one sleeve in half rampage. Wade says, any chance for having a subscription of sending out a deck of a hero 1 month and then a villain alternating month like a subscription? No. Nope. No, we will not do that thing. God, the shipping. Can you imagine the shipping on that? Cody says, do you have an example of the branded card sleeves, or is it too early in the process for that? No, the card sleeves are not branded. The packaging the sleeves come in are branded, but the sleeves are unprinted, fully clear, usable for any cards of these sizes. We're making a line of sleeves here, of five different sizes. Regular character card sizes, the tarot card sizes that the heroes are, and then the oversized card sizes that the villains are. This is much bigger. I'm exaggerating. It's more like that. Anyway, those are the 3 sizes that are applicable to this game. So when you buy the pack of sleeves here, it comes with all the sleeves necessary for all the cards of the game, and all of the villain cards and event cards and hero character cards, and also if the foil cards. So like, that's what that pack covers. But we're also making 2 different card sizes. It's a card sleeve sizes that are not a part of this campaign because we don't have cards of those sizes in here, which is cards that are square, like the ones in Compounded or the deck building game, and then cards that are like the mini sizes, like the ones that we use in Spirit Island for the invader pieces. So those are the 5 sizes of card sleeves that we're going to be putting out after this campaign is over. And since we are like coincidentally working on these card sleeves, we're like, hey, people always ask us when we run a campaign, what size card sleeves should we get this? Let's just get our card sleeves together and make them available as part of this campaign. And if people are like, hey, they're expensive, I would not call them expensive. I would call them properly priced. Like, these are high quality card sleeves. You're getting what you pay for here. All right. Kaya says, I was going to ask why you're apparently a villain target, but after this destructive streak, well, there you go. Now you know. Although I destroyed villain cards and sleeves. 2 things. Hal says, when's the next episode of Christopher Destroys Everything podcast? Every podcast I'm on is an episode of Christopher Destroys Everything. Yeah, Senchiguri says, do you know if you'll be offering sleeves for other games? So what we'll be doing post the campaign is just offering packs of sleeves on our web store, and probably on retail as well, with the way we're packaging them and getting them out there. And so then you would just be like, oh, I am getting a Greater Than Games game. I know that the Greater Than Games makes the sleeves that definitely fit for those cards. Because a thing that happens to us all the time is people are like, oh, what sleeves should we use for the cards? And we say, oh, you can use this company's sleeves, but then it turns out that company changed the way they make their sleeves, and now they don't quite fit, or they're not quite high quality enough. Or if we want to recommend sleeves, the only way that we can recommend something that we can stand behind our recommendation is if we make it ourselves. So here we are. Ba, ba, ba. Vulcan Gaming says, why don't you sleeve your cards? How do you preserve the quality of your cards for longevity? Is there a way you handle, shuffle, etc. that you personally do to keep them safe? Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you asked. I don't sleeve my cards because I don't like the feel of sleeved cards. I like the feel of cards that feel like cards. That's what feels nice. It feels good in the hand. I like to handle my cards in a way. Yes, you can see the table there. That makes sense. I like to handle the cards in a way where, like, if I'm going to say shuffle Tachyon's deck, I would just take Tachyon's deck, give it a simple cut, hold it at the ends. Nothing like shuffling on camera to see if I know how to do a shuffle properly. That was from the side. Let me see if I can sneak my body over here and shuffle one. Got to shuffle real close to the chest, close to the vest even. Pardon me, camera cord or microphone cord. Man, this is how a Velociraptor shuffles a deck of cards. Very nice. So that's what I do. That's what I do with my cards, is I give them that very aggressive, some would say, riffle shuffle. The other thing I like about a shuffle like that is if you do it right, all the cards stay in the right orientation. I hate it when people don't have their cards faced. It bothers me. So that's what I do. And my copy of Sentinel's core game, which I just showed you the card quality in there. The card stock quality, I was very pleased with Sentinel's core game post original edition. And my copy downstairs of Sentinel's core game has been played thousands of times, probably tens of thousands of times, really. I mean, good lord. It's gone to conventions. I played it for playtesting. I played it for demos. I played it with friends for fun. And I am not careful with the cards. I'm not, like, ginger with them. I shuffle them, I use them, I play with them. And my copy of Sentinels of Multiverse looks great. It looks great. The cards have some edge wear, but, like, nothing like this, you know. That's, if I want to destroy cards, I destroy cards. If I'm playing with cards, no. I don't personally like the feel of kids. I'm good at shuffling cards. I used to be able to do a one-hand shuffle. I haven't practiced in a long time, so I'm not going to try it on camera. That's going to be cause for foolishness. But it's not for me. I would rather rebuy a game when the components were worn out to the point that I need the new cards than to sleeve everything. To each their own. To each their own. Levy says, will there be a big difference to the flip side of the heroes? You mean like the incapacitated sides of the heroes? Yes, many of them have changed. Some of them have changed a little, some of them have changed a lot. There you go. Adrian says, are there rumors true the Galactic Strike Force is going to be redone as one of the expansions for Definitive Edition? This comment may be the start of that rumor. That rumor is incorrect. When I, in the future, redo Galactic Strike Force, it will be as its own game as opposed to as part of Sentinels, the Multiverse. Top Hat Lord says, will you offer single card replacements as you did for Multiverse? Yeah, we got it. Like, it'll be like, okay, you know, somebody's got a damaged thing or something. We still offer replacement components. We offer replacement components for all of our games. Yes, Take Walker, it is still going. Chris says, do villains still have a second side to them? Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't flip over any of the villains. Yeah, all villains have flip sides, except for the critical events. Critical event villains don't flip. Almost done here. We're already over the half-hour mark that I thought we'd be, but it's okay. Quasi Quirky will be doing sleeve bundles for other games. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how we're going to exactly do. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we put bundles on the web store of like, hey, this is the Spirit Island bundle, and this is the Spirit Island Jagged Earth bundle, and this is the compounded bundle. Like, I could very much see doing that. I don't know. We might just put a guide on the website that says, for this game, you'll want to buy this many copies of this pack and this many copies of this pack. Like, I don't know. That's a question for when that actually becomes a product. Chris asks, you mentioned a one card shuffle. You realize now we're going to keep asking to see it. I hope you ask me for one card shuffle. I'm going to shuffle one card every day. Here we go. You ready? This is one bunker card. I'm going to give it a quick shuffle. And then you riffle it after you. You do the bridge. Look at that. I can also do that. I can do a one card, one hand shuffle. The bunker card. Here we go. You take here, and then you bridge it over there, and now it's shuffled. Oh man, so nice, so nice. Here we go. Okay, Vulcan Gaming says, thank you for that. You're welcome. Another letdown says, Christopher, thank you for defending my position on unsleeved cards. I hope you don't mind me borrowing your words when someone at my store asks me why my decks aren't sleeved. If people want to sleeve their cards, I don't think that that's inherently bad or wrong. I just think it's weak. I'm kidding. I just think it's not for me. I like the feel of the paper cards. Chris Willis, yes, I did. Ruby says, is it true that if I back the Kickstarter, I could get the villain foil oversized cards? Yes. In fact, if you back the Kickstarter and you get a copy of the Sentinels of the Multiverse Definitive Edition core game through the Kickstarter, you will get a pack of foil cards for all of the hero character cards, all of the hero variant cards, all of the villain character cards, and all of the event cards with regular events and critical events, all in foil, showing off all that lovely art that we showed here and far more for free. Okay, it says, how much are the sleeves cost for the big ones and the terror ones? Those don't get shuffled, so I don't care about sleeving anything but the standard size decks. I don't know. I mean, like, somewhere I have that information, but just post the Kickstarter once the things go on the regular web store. Like, it's a totally fair thing if you're like, oh, I want to sleeve the deck cards but not the character cards, or I want to sleeve the character cards and not the deck cards. Like, whatever, you do you. I'm not going to judge out loud. But once the campaign's done, just whenever we have, I'm sure we'll have a big announcement when we do finally have the sleeves in packs available on the web store, and then you'll just go to the web store and get whatever it is you want. Okay. Sorry, Chris. Sorry for making fun of your typo. I am not showing off a one-hand shuffle because I will fail. I'm tempted. I'm like, oh, I could try. Nope, I'll fail. I have put my skill points into other things since then, but I thank you for giving me the opportunity to do a goof. John asks, are the vests for sale? Nope. Nope. You can get these vests for free by being an owner of Greater Than Games. Dominic says, are the foil cards foiled only on one side or foiled on both sides? Both sides have been foiled again! Rakono says, you showed some examples of hero and villain cards. Could we perhaps see some examples of environment cards? Yes! Look, I thought we were wrapping up, but people are asking good questions. Now we're getting the good questions. Rakono asks, name an environment deck, and I'll pull from there. Meanwhile, I'll keep going on through questions here. Jonas says, are the foil cards just foiled all over, spot foiled? So if they were foiled all over, then they wouldn't be... like, the foil wouldn't be very interesting. So there's foil all over the card, but they are spot foiled less in what is foiled and more than what isn't foiled. You have to do some foil removal to make foil cards interesting, because you're removing interesting bits here. If you look at the foil, if you have this set of foil cards from Sentinels Multiverse, which this is one of my favorite boxes to just keep like other components in. I love this box. Ooh, telescoping box. But if you have that set of foil cards, you'll see, if you look at them, like, oh, there are things that are strategically foiled and unfoiled to create depth and interest. And so, once again, does the main box have space for both regular and foil cards? Yeah, because it's just the character cards. And so, yeah, that should fit just fine, no problem. EQ says, I don't remember if there's asked, but will each villain have an event variant? Yes. Another letdown says, Insolent for Malice, you're not Raccoono. Risen Chud says, Ruins of Atlantis, you're not Raccoonu! But the Raccoonu is here now. And it says, let's be a wild card and say Atlantis. I love it. I love it. Love to see some Atlantean ruins. Here we go. So the fun thing about the environment cards is that hero cards and villain cards are not landscape. They're portrait. But environment cards are in landscape, because they're landscapes, because they're environments. Get it? Get it? It's a joke. You're a joke. So the backs are kind of like a panoramic shot. I'm showing you a lot of different backs. Oh, look at this one. Oh, I really like that one. Oh man, some good different arts on the backs of these cards here. It says the name of the environment. It's Ruins of Atlantis. And it shows the environment. And then you get into the cards, and you've got a bunch of cool, different environment cards, different things happening. Atlantis is a good choice, because there's a bunch of new cards. Like, there's some cards, Hallway Collapse. Hallway Collapse, that's familiar. We recognize the card Hallway Collapse, probably, maybe. It's from the original Ruins of Atlantis. Different art, everything's been slightly different, but the card Hallway Collapse is here, and it's pretty similar. There's another one. 2 copies of Hallway Collapse in a row. I obviously haven't yet played a game in the Ruins of Atlantis. Beautiful. let's try this again. What do we got? Hallway collapse. Hold on. How can it be? Okay, I'm gonna shuffle it and give it a cut. And hallway collapse. Okay. You gotta do that old style shuffle from your playing other card games days. You shuffle it all up. You give it a cut. And then we've got hallway collapse. Sorry, I'm having too much fun here. This is the point where I go, and in fact, every card in the the other side, every card in the deck is. Oh no, they're not all hallway collapses. Just one? Oh no, two. There's two copies, of course. There's two copies of hallway collapse. How did it just keep coming up as that card? So strange. So strange. Anyway, lots of cool new cards doing lots of cool new things. You can see actually on this card that you got the thing where it's like you get your start phase text and your end phase text. Very nice. All right. Scroll back up. What questions did I miss here? Favorite dino and Insula Formalis? The Stegosaurus. Most recent comic in the box. Oh, Brian, that's a good question. Of the events, what's the most recent one? At a certain point here, I realize I'm just gonna have to say, okay, we're stopping now because I feel like you guys keep asking me questions forever. Let's see. Events. 87, 76, 68, 84, 75, 99, maybe 99, 86, 98, 2007, 2007, 299 events. Very different ones, though. 2007 is the latest event in the core game. That's pretty impressive considering. There we go. Good question. That's the thing. You ask me a question that I'm like, ooh, I'm interested in that answer, and then you get me to do silly magic tricks. Can we get foiled sleeves? No. Rue says, I meant for the old set villain oversized cards. Sorry for asking again. The old set. Oh, I believe that we have the villain oversized foil cards from the previous edition of Sentinels on the web store still. I think. Maybe we're still, yeah. Chris Rose, sorry about Ruins of Atlantis jokes. Yeah. Dragon Drake, excuse me. My shuffles definitely changed the bottom card, and then regardless of what, let's say they didn't, I then cut the deck every time. I realized I was out of camera thing, but I did cut the deck every time after shuffling. I should have done that on screen, to be fair. Benjamin Lalka, you'd love to read the comics. Where can I go to do that? So, there aren't any because this is all based on fake comic books. There's a podcast called the Letters Page Podcast, and we talk in depth about all of that, not just about the comic books, but about how it's how they're fake. And sorry, but yeah, there you go. Ooh, Kent Changar asks, are you getting rid of game over cards like Citizen Dawn's Aurora? So I don't consider that Devastating Aurora from Citizen Dawn. I don't consider that a game over card at all. I consider things like Baron Blades pulling the moon into the earth when you get 15 cards in the trash, or the Wagner Mars makes self-destruct sequence game over effects, game over cards. And there are game over cards still in the game. Additionally, Citizen Dawn still has a card called Devastating Aurora, and it is still both devastating and auroric. Some things, I actually greatly nerfed Devastating Aurora in early playtesting, and the thing that came out in playing is like, oh, but you do want times in which villains do a terrible thing, and you can be like, Villainous, I don't like it. So there are still things like that, but they're a bit different. You've got a bit more opportunities than you did before, and this is kind of a wait and see moment, but that has been addressed, at least within the game, I guess, is that answer, without just straight up getting rid of all. If I get rid of all the bad things that villains do, then like, not villains anymore. Runaway asks, will there ever be a hero as cool as Absolute Zero? Impossible. Chris Willis says, I love the jokes. I'm just determined to try and catch you out at some point. Please do. Raccoon says, final question for me before I head out. As a writer, what has been your favorite part of recomposing all the flavor text? Yeah, that's a great, it is. I guess my favorite part has been getting a chance to do it right, knowing way more about these characters' voices than we did when we wrote the game. When we wrote the game back in the first place, like we definitely knew everything there was to know about the characters' voices because that was it. We were the only ones that knew anything about Sentinel Comics. And now we've been telling stories in the pages of Sentinel Comics for over a decade and doing this podcast for several years and being able to really just like the Wraith's voice was really not right. I didn't even realize it. I thought the Wraith's voice, I had this like rose-colored lenses view of the Wraith's deck that I'm like, Wraith's deck is probably really solid. And it is really solid. But her art and her flavor text needed more updating than we expected. And getting to rewrite her cards with the correct flavor text was delightful. Ba, ba, ba. Just says, I'm sad now. Make the comics happen. Yeah, you and me both. I would love to make the comics happen. Comics, are like novels in that it's not going to be as much of a return on the creative work that I do now. And it's another thing that like right now this game company's it's doing really well. Actually, it's surprising. It continues to be surprising to us. And so we're going to keep focusing on game company stuff, but if something ever happens and falls through and Adam and I are blessed with an abundance of free time, that sounds terrible, we have plenty of things that we'd love to do involving making comics and so on and so forth. John S 1999. Good year, John S. You asked, you came in late. Have I explained how reactions work? I haven't explained how reactions work. Nobody's asked. Now, I am posting the rule book in an update tomorrow, but I will pull a reaction card and do a quick explanation of reactions, because that's a fantastic question. That's a great A to A me to A M. No. Yeah, that is a great. Okay. Reaction. Here's a card called Emergency Shielding from Bunker. Emergency Shielding. I don't know why I even try. Is a card that has a reaction on it, and it has some ongoing text to it that says when this card is destroyed, Bunker regains 2 HP. So that's always true. If anything would destroy this card, Bunker regains 2 hit points. Very nice. But it has a reaction. And reactions can be triggered when you would be dealt damage. When you would be dealt damage, you can trigger the reaction. When you'd be dealt damage by a target other than your type of target. So heroes can react to being damaged by a villain or an environment. And so you would be damaged. Actually, I think it's even being dealt damage not by an ally. I am in live stream mode and not rules explaining mode. Let me read you the effect from the rulebook. It's a better answer. When this card, or if the card's not a target, the card's associated hero. So in the case of emergency shielding, sideways emergency shielding, when Bunker would be dealt damage by a non-hero target, Bunker may activate this reaction text. Like powers, each reaction can only be activated once per turn, but unlike powers, you can activate you don't like powers. You can activate 1 power per turn on your turn during your power phase, unless you have cards that let you do otherwise. Reactions. If you had 4 different reactions in play, hypothetically, you could use all 4 of them, but you could each, like a power, use them only once per round, and then they have to refresh again after that. So the reaction on this one is -2 to the damage dealt. To damage Bunker would be dealt, rather. Then, if Bunker is still dealt damage, destroy this card. So, if you're going to be dealt 1 or 2 damage and you pop up your emergency shielding, you prevent the damage entirely. Great, hooray, life goes on. If you would be dealt 3 or more damage and you pop up this card and reduce that damage by 2, great, now you're dealt still an amount of damage, so it destroys this card. But as we said at the top, then you gain some health as a result, because the shielding was overcome, and so you must be in danger. All right, there's a quick overview of reactions. KH says, what lessons did you learn from later expansions like Oblivion that applied to Definitive Edition? Gosh, Infinite. Every product that I've ever put out, every Sentinels product that I put out, but every non-Sentinels product that I put out, every story that I've told in the letters page, I learn important and often painful lessons every week at least, and more probably multiple times a week. Anyway, specific lessons. I'm trying to like isolate one specific lesson that I can be like, yeah. Well, a thing that happened as part of Oblivion was the lesson that I learned from Oblivion is event cards. Okay, there you go. The event cards in this game, they're a lesson learned from Oblivion. There we go. There we go. Kaya says, is that one project that was done as a promotion that used to be on the site gone forever? Yes, it's gone forever. It's not correct. Adams hates the art in it. It's just, it was a nice thing that we did at that time. We can do better and will. Toyota Wolf. Better than Nissan Fox, if you ask me. Nissan Fox is a pretty cool name. Toyota Wolf says, what is the fate of the digital version of the game by Handelabra? That is up to Handelabra. But we shall see. I am certain that they will have announcements about that at some point in the hopefully not too distant future. Chris Will says, do you have any ketchup? No, I do not have any ketchup. Rhett says, do the various deck types have the same numbers of cards in them? Oh, I see what you're saying. Hero decks have 40 cards, villain decks have 25 cards, and environment decks have 15 cards. Yes. Alex says, will you still be printing the original Sentinels of Multiverse? No. All right. Looks like we're wrapping up. James Sanders says, do reactions have to be used in the order they were played? No. You just choose, because it's all maze, and you choose to activate them in whatever order you want. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for asking all of your delightful questions and being with me for this now 2 hours. We went to the 2 hours. We're, unless I wrap it up in the next, we'll be close. We'll be close to the 2 hours. Jeez, goodness gracious. Thank you all so much for joining us for this. I am certain that Maggie in the chat has fallen asleep. Maybe not, but she's certainly bored of me going on and on. This has been a delightful time getting to show all this stuff off. I'm very excited about this. It's, yeah, this is great. This is great and fun. And got a lot more updates, and I'm going to do another AMA like 2/3 of the way through the Kickstarter. So if you're like, oh, I've got more questions, or as the Kickstarter goes on, you're like, wait a minute, hold on, you showed me that, or you showed me this rule book, and now I have these other questions. Great, good news. I'll do an AMA. I'll answer all your questions once again. I'll do it again. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody.